Hey everybody, I'm Victoria Baylor, and thank you so much for tuning in. We're doing a little mini testimonial with my wonderful client, Miss Valarie Grimes. I'm so excited to have her on board today. And essentially, we're going to just take a little bit of a casual chat to talk about what it was like for her to actually go through my 6-week Brand Brilliance Blueprint program. So I'll give you a little bit more about that later, but I'm so delighted to have her here and just kind of share her experiences and actually to share even, of course, about her wonderful self, her own brilliance, and then just kind of give you a sense of what it's like, again, to work with me, and then kind of the process and what you can look forward to experiencing on the end, as the end result. So Valarie, thank you so much for being so gracious to come on and kind of just I wouldn't say banter, but kind of us just discuss what it was like for us to work together. I appreciate having you here.
Well, thank you for having me. It has been my pleasure, the whole process.
Thank you. And for those that do not, before we get into that process, I'll call her Lady Valarie, is a little bit, she's a woman of the people. She is definitely out and about in the community. I love the initiatives and everything she has going on. I don't want to spoil it. I'll let her tell you what it is, but you have probably seen her pop up on your Facebook pages. She's well connected, and her drive and goal to connect people in her line of work, which I'll let her divulge, is amazing. So Valarie, please tell us what you do and why you're driven to do it.
Wow, that's a huge question. And you have helped to clarify so many points in that. And so I thank you for that. I am Valarie Grimes. I'm a registered nurse by trade, and that has been a ministry for me and has really begun the process for me. Has led me deeper into what my true calling is, and that is to be a pastor. And so I am starting planting from the ground up Radiant Church Savannah, and we will be planting here in the community in September of this year. So it has been an extraordinary process to get here, and I tell you, it has been so worth it. I believe that everyone should have a relationship with Christ, but I also recognize that everyone's relationship is different with him, and that he has purpose planted in their hearts, and he has given me some unique giftings, I found out, to begin to draw out those purposes in people. And so I'm excited about what's coming and just thankful for what God has entrusted in my hands.
I think that's awesome. And as you know, as the ladies know, I love working with professional entrepreneur women. Everyone has a purpose and calling. I love your purpose and calling just because we share the same faith. I understand some people watching might not, and we completely respect, of course, you. So don't feel like we don't. But this, of course, broadcast and this testimony is going to be a little bit more faith-based slanted, just because that's the nature of Valarie's arena. And of course, that's something I can relate to as well. So I love what you said, Valarie, that you had this purpose, this call, this push, and that you heard a sense of what that call was, and then you just answered the call. And that kind of leads us, because you were already well on your way in developing your church, putting things out there. And I grew up a PK, so for people that know that, I'm a preacher's kid. So I understand kind of like the view. You too? So it is no joke. I will say this, and this is a little off topic, but church planning is no joke. Like anytime you're getting people together in likeness of mind, values, thoughts, beliefs, it's a lot of work to get it started, but it's so rewarding because we know having faith-based communities, churches, especially that teach the love of Christ, just really helps unite people in their hearts and help them understand themselves in ways they can't normally do, and then help them build toward bigger purposes, impacting the lives of other people. So that's amazing in and of itself. But you were already well on your journey. On your journey, at what point did you realize that, hey, maybe I need some coaching or just some added assistance to help me get to where I need to get to?
Well, as you said, church planting is a different animal all within itself. And it is entrepreneurship. We have to begin to own that fact that along with the spiritual side of church, there's also a business side. So you have to be able to balance those two, recognize which one is most important, and then, to begin to implement both sides. And what brought me to you, Victoria, is that the business side of it, for me, I was having trouble really, communicating that vision and letting people know that this was something worth investing in. And I had to find out exactly what my block was. And I began to hear about you and some of the things that you had done with other people in that area. And so I said, let me reach out to her. And in our first conversation, just a consultation, I was like, yes, this is what I need. That 6 weeks of getting to know more about me, how am I built? How am I structured? What do I bring to the table as far as the business side is concerned? And I tell you, you have met my expectations and exceeded them even. So that has been amazing. And I guess we'll probably talk a little bit more about what that looks like, but it has been amazing. I feel as though now the person that God sees, I'm seeing. And so that has been a blessing.
No, that's awesome. And you touched on a few things I think that's great. So we just highlighted some of your experience, and you're right, we'll go a little bit deeper into that. But I applaud you for making that decision, first of all. And I will just say this, I think it's raining outside. So if this is a little bit jumpy, just know it's not us. It's Mother Nature impacting this broadcast. But I told you from the start, I can't obviously do my job without having someone that's coming in open and willing and knowing that they have value that they're not tapping into. And I love from the start that was definitely your perspective. You're like, look, I am focused on what I need to do. We are launching this church in September. I need to make it happen. So you came in ready and focused. And then that makes it so much easier for me to exercise and use my gifts and seeing what you're missing. You mentioned blocks. That's what attracted you in. You realized you had some. What would you say to the woman that is out there that has those blocks? She realized that, like, I'm not really operating from an angle I need to. I'm hitting too many walls. I get up, I hate my work. Something's wrong. But she's had a little bit in trepidation about getting help for it, coming to a coach like me or something like that. What would you say to that woman?
Well, first of all, if you have been called into business or into an arena where you are presenting a product, presenting a service, presenting anything that's outside of you, you need to stop and think, hey, that's unique right there already. I've got something in me that's pulling me and drawing me. So let's find out exactly what that is and how can I extract that and begin to believe it myself. What I found out through your program is that people were believing the things that were good in me before I even recognized them. And so a lot of times there are gifts and there's callings and there are talents that you don't recognize yourself. And going through this program has given me an opportunity to just kind of mine those things out and begin to talk about them in a positive way to myself. It's not even about to someone else. It's about doing that for myself. So if you're in that place where you're hitting those walls, sometimes we have to stop and think, what am I not seeing in myself? What am I missing? And so this program helps to dig those things out. And a lot of times those options are not out there for women. And I think that as a female coming into this program, I came in believing, first of all, that Victoria had value and that she could also help pull out the value that was in me.
No, thank you so much. And I love what you said, because it really is, I think when there's that inkling of there's potential, even if you're not completely, fully convinced just yet, just knowing that and accepting and adopting the idea that I do have value, it's worth exploring. I love that, because I think when we start asking the question of what do I want? Where do I want to go? We're actually dancing around that. That means there's something worth exploring. Spend the time to do it. So you're right. And essentially another thing is true. We can't unpack ourselves. Now, could you have done a lot of the work we did on your own?
No, I'm going to tell you, some of the questions that you asked me, I was like, man, I never thought of that before, or I never saw it from that perspective before. And so there are going to be lots of aha moments, and it's presented in such a way that you know it's to enhance you and to make you better. And that's the thing too, knowing that the heart of Victoria is for you to recognize what so many people already recognize.
Mm. So, you know, I have clients all the time to say, and then we'll shift over to more your experiences. But you're absolutely right. I have them to say, I came in for one thing, and like I had no idea that like I was going to find myself.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that crazy in life that we think we know what we need, but really everything that we need, I feel like God has already packed in us. We just need to unpack and stop looking at all the external stuff to explain or validate us. But all that validation is internal. So when you said that, oh, I unpacked and I found out all this stuff, that now I know why everybody was applauding me or they were complimenting me all these years. And I think if anybody needs to know, that's so awesome. You're right. The person that needs to know most is yourself. Just like when I went through and I figured that out for myself. Okay, so from a program standpoint, pretty easy to navigate. You know, we kind of went through systematically on taking you from understanding who you are or understanding where you want to go to various steps, figuring out the blocks. Next step is, what is your strengths, or what does it look like? How do people see you? What are those added parts of value? To the very end, which is, how do I translate that value? What was the flow like for you? Was it kind of easy to navigate? You can kind of build up off and on it.
It was awesome. And the thing about it too is not only did it have a good flow to it, it was easy to understand, easy to access. And if there were moments that I didn't understand, I could shoot you a text and you know, get back to me. And, you know, as we walk through each one of our sessions, I always felt like if there was a place that I didn't quite get, you helped me with that. And it began in the very beginning. I think maybe the first session, I began to look at the program, understand how to work it, and I found out that it was an easy process, to the point that I was like, I need to have access to all of this when it's all over, because I want to continue to work in it. It's just amazing. It makes you look at yourself. It makes you look at your brand. It makes you look at moving forward with it. So there is a progression to it. It's an easy path to follow, and it opens so many doors, and it just opens your understanding. So thank you. I mean, I think you've done an excellent job.
Thank you very much. And when you said open doors, I love that. So everything is built again intentionally so that it's not about, I always, you know what I said at the beginning, it's not about what I think, it's not about what your grandma think, your mama, anybody. The most important person here is you. And it's really what you come out on the end thinking about yourself. Through all this self-discovery, establishing your brand identity, understanding your value down to the core, and knowing that there's no other Valarie out there. What have you been able to do with that information that's really been pivotal for you in this time?
Wow, that's an excellent question. One of the things is I've taken a few assessments before. There are some assessments that are embedded in your program, and I've taken one of them before, and no one ever stopped and helped me walk through that assessment. And I tell you, when you did, it was like, oh my God. That's me. That is how I am wired. That is me to a T. And what it did for me is it began to help me to own those things, to begin to own them, walk in them, and say, man, you know, That's it. And it has opened the door to some really neat opportunities, some interviews that I probably wouldn't have taken without feeling that confidence in myself. It has allowed me to walk into some rooms with people who didn't look like me or even think like me, and to be able to express myself and find a place in that room, to the point that I've been invited back, over and over again. So it's just invaluable. And I continue to look back at some of those assessments whenever I kind of say, well, I'm not really sure. And I look back and I was like, oh yeah, that's me. That's really me. So it's helped me to own it. So I thank you for that. A lot of times you take assessments and people put them away and they never say anything else about them, but you help walk through that. And so I thank you. That was great.
Well, and that's so awesome because it's really about making connections. So, just having information is just that, it's having information. But how do we connect how you're wired, how people see you, those other unique gifts? How do we connect them back? Your story, your life, where you started. And as you know, we go in there and we go deep, and then we're able to make connections that essentially is what gives a strong foundational understanding of who you are. That it doesn't matter if the building shakes that we're building, your brand may shake, the wind may blow, stuff may happen, but you're really assured on, no, this is who I am, this is what I bring to the table. Even to the point, as we talked about energy management, understanding your value comes at a premium. We're not just throwing you all out there. I love that you being able to understand that mantra of my energy doesn't belong to everybody, is everything that I'm doing really in alignment with me. And I guess as an overhaul, as we kind of wrap this up, how has this kind of shifted, I think, from where you started? And I intentionally record sessions everywhere. So for the people that work with me, they get a recorded session. It's theirs. I delete it on my end because I don't need thousands of recorded sessions. But for my client, I love it because you're able to see yourself during that first session where there's the limiting beliefs, or I'm not sure if I can do this, or I'm not really sure who I am, or I'm just, wherever it is, where you start to the very end. What has it been like kind of witnessing your own transformation?
I came in as someone who, I did a lot of things. I wore a lot of hats. And I still do. That part hasn't changed. But what has changed is now I'm more focused on why I do them. And so I'm not just letting anything and everything come into my life. I've started saying no to some things, and that frees me up to be able to say yes to the right things. And it has come because I'm learning more about where my giftedness is. I've learned more about the fact that, as you said, I have value. I do bring something to the table. And as a result of that, the opportunities that I'm saying yes to are bringing me forward, is also opening so many doors for the church that I'm planting. And it all comes from knowing who you are, what your value is, what you can bring to the table. And the thing about it is, when you flourish, when you're enhanced, when you know who you are, you can begin to do that for people around you, because they're drawn to that piece and that part of you that's sure. And then you can begin to help to do that same thing for them. As a matter of fact, I've been recommending Victoria to everybody because I know that there are women out there that, they have what it takes. They've been doubting that, though. So it's time for them to step into their brand brilliance as well.
And I love that you said that, because we're not here to dehumanize. At least that's not my point. And you, of course, let me know. I take a very glove approach. I'm a coach now, but I definitely take it from the perspective of, my job is not, as you know, Valarie, wasn't to change you. If anything, I fangirled about a lot of your gifts. I was like, oh my gosh, you can do that. It's really cool. But the whole point is to help you see how you're wired, how you're bent, and then to walk in that direction versus you trying to be like someone else. So if anything, I imagine, do you feel more like a better enhanced version of yourself that can actually position yourself now? And we talked about sea of churches, and you can stand up and say, hey, this is mine, and this is what we bring that's so awesome. And then I'm, the pastor, and these are my values, and really connect with other people.
Absolutely. I feel that with all of my heart, that I am able now to better understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's a part of my DNA. And as you said, I was talking to someone about you, and I told him, I says, yeah, I says, you know, she's a gentle giant. She does not, she doesn't kick you very hard. I said, she just kind of pokes you a little bit and says, come on, you can do this. So I appreciate that, because my conversation has changed since I've been in this coaching. It's not an arrogance, but it's an understanding. And so I can appreciate that, because when this started, there are some things that I've accepted and said about myself that I would not have done without this program. And, you know, I believe that, and as she says, I'm a woman of faith, and what I'm doing is all about faith. I do believe that now she has equipped me better to pull out and draw out purpose in other people as well.
I think there's no other way to end definitely this conversation. You said it. The whole goal of when we release our gifts, we are so much better equipped to impact other people positively. And I feel like your gift, that God-given purpose, is the gift that keeps on giving. So we don't intentionally, I think as women, we don't intentionally hoard our gift to ourselves, but out of insecurity and doubt and struggle and the negative things people say, we're led to believe we don't have anything that's of value. And even though that wasn't your case, but I've worked with women that's severely their case. So the goal is absolutely that, realizing that I can look at this thing and say, it's not making me arrogant. I'm confident in the gift and the value I bring to others, because I know that's what they need. Someone's out there looking for you. We know that lots of people are looking for you, Valarie. They're looking for your perspective, your shepherding, the way in which you're going to help them. And I love the fact that you've emerged as that much more of a confident, focused woman that can actually take that business side of your church, position yourself in a huge marketplace, and be seen and showcase your value, so those opportunities and that the parishioners and everyone will attract to you. So with that being said, thank you so much for being so gracious and taking your time, because you were a busy lady. I know you'd be on the go to do this. With that, and we will be remiss if we don't give you some moment to say, how can people, those that have interacted and seen this, that want to reach out to you, how can they connect with you?
Absolutely. We're online at radiantrising.com. And we're also on Facebook, Radiant Rising, and then also on Instagram, same thing, Radiant Rising, because Radiant is rising in Savannah. We want you to rise up and join with us, because we are about our Father's business. Our whole goal is to bring the hope of Jesus to everyone, everywhere. And so if you would, like I said, we're on Facebook at Radiant Rising. If you come in there, we actually do Facebook Live daily, just some encouragement and letting people know how important they are to God, because that's the most important thing, for them to know that. So thank you.
I love that wonderful message. Y'all check her out. And then if any of you are out there and want to just even start the conversation and want to know how I can support you, there's a variety of ways. Of course, you know where to find me and Victoria Baylor. And of course, I'm in the Facebook group and beyond. Feel free to email me. We can talk about some packages, any kind of support system to kind of get you to where you need to go. It starts with a conversation. So let's make that happen. But thank you again, Valarie. And I will be seeing you around, of course. See you everywhere now.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.